Yep, Atlanta's number one hip hop station is out on 7-9. Your Dirty J Nix Flies guy on the radio.
DJ Cash, the Fly Haitian Kid, I'm in the building.
As you know, man, we are the hottest show in the South, man. As you know, we do what we want to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when we have people in here, they're pretty freaking famous, man.
Right.
They got a lot going on because you got to have some business to be on a Dirty Boy show.
Exactly. You can't just be just the hype. It can't just be hype, right?
It's got to be the real deal, Holyfield.
No
man.
cap.
Well, guess what, man? We have a businessman here getting a whole lot of money. Call him BB. Brett Berish in the building. What's up, Brett? How you doing?
I like that, BB.
Was that a good intro?
I like that.
Cool, man. What's going on, man? You got a lot of big things happening, man, and you have like a very interesting life, period, as far as business and everything else. Tell me about this business you created at such a. I mean, you started when did you actually start your Sovereign brand?
Started the company in 1999.
Okay.
Basically made a decision. I'm one of those guys who has lots and lots and lots of ideas, and too many ideas. And it wasn't until my late 30s where I just said, I have to focus on one and do nothing else. And that was it for me. And I started focusing on the wine and spirits business.
So how does that with having a lot of ideas? Because I think like a lot of kids go through this. Because I think sometimes, like I know when I was growing up, a lot of people was like, you need to focus on one thing. You're trying to do too much. You're doing this. You're doing it all over the place. Like how is that with a creator like you?
It's truth. You the hardest part. I think there's two types. There's two things. One is someone like me who has lots of ideas. You got to pick one and just focus in because if you don't focus, you're going to get lost. The other is once you do that, you got to make a commitment. And for me, it was that second part, making a commitment, saying, I'm going to do this. I don't care about anybody else. I don't care if everyone says, no, don't go do this. I'm going to do this. That's the hardest thing to do when it comes to business. Or, for example, for me, I'm a huge fan of the music world. I think an artist is the same thing.
Right.
They're on their own. They're doing it by themselves. It's not usually, in the hip hop world, it's one single artist. In the rock and roll world, it's a group. At least they've got each other to bounce ideas off of. But it's hard when you're alone.
Why this industry? I'm sure you came up with tons of great ideas, and I know tons of people probably told you, no, this is a dangerous investment. It's saturated. It's hard to get into.
I grew up in the industry. This was the kitchen table talk. This was my father had no hobbies. He loved, all he did was work, and he worked in the liquor industry. And I never worked in it. I always when I was in high school, I wanted to do tequila. I wanted to do it, and he said, no, don't do this. Focus on finance. He wanted us to do things, either one, marry rich, which we didn't do, and I didn't do that twice, and two, do something in finance where you're not touching a product. And I did end up doing that, and I hated it, and I wanted to do a product. I've loved products and the idea of touching and feeling a product, and I finally committed to it.
Nice.
Let's talk about branding. Branding with you is key. Tell me about your ideas as far as branding your company, branding your brands of wines and spirits. Like what's your method behind the brand? It's
a combination. I want to say there's no science to it. It's gut feeling. And I'm a big fan of music, so I treat it like some ways like music. You can have a lyric or a hook or a beat, and you kind of hold that, and then you think, wow, this would be a cool hook. Can I find something else to go with this? And it may not come tomorrow or the next day. It could come a year from now, and then all of a sudden you got that. You put the two together. For me, it's the same thing. With a brand like what we're drinking now, which is Bamboo, which is a rum, the inspiration came when I was doing research on rum. And in part of the research, I found that back in the 16th century, merchants traveled to the West Indies, didn't like the taste of traditional rum, which they called grog.
Right.
They would blend and craft their own out of it, and they would call that Bamboo. That was the name, and I wanted to bring that back to life, and that became the name. That was the inspiration for me, saying, okay, now I got to make a better brand than everybody else's. And then I started working on the actual the rum itself and meeting different producers all over the world, and then started focusing specifically in the Caribbean. But it starts with an inspiration. Fortunately, I love to drink.
Right.
So I am the consumer. I know what I like, and I'm hoping people like the same thing I like when it comes to the actual product.
Yo, Durtty.